Fourth episode of our podcast. We're talking everything insurance and final expense. Today we got a special guest. We got Gary Penn of the Penn Group, and we're going to be talking about what kind of year that he had last year. 244,000 and some change in production. So we're going to get into a little bit about what Gary's done on the day-to-day. So Gary, how old were you when you first got started in the final expense?
I believe I was 51.
51. Wow. So
51.
At 51, you were starting a new career, fresh new career, 51 years old.
51 years old. I
Wow.
started off from scratch.
So you don't have to be young, you don't have to have a college education,
No.
you don't have to have nothing.
Nope.
Just an insurance license
Yeah.
and a good work ethic, and you can be right out and running.
Yeah, I was pretty hungry. I was broke as Cooter Brown when I first started too.
Yeah. So when you first started in the final expense business, now were you with one company or multiple companies? Or?
I got started with a few of the little IMO'd out of South Carolina, and they got me appointed with 2 or 3 companies. Started at a 50% contract.
Wow. So 50% contract, and you were still able to make money?
Yeah, I had 2 companies that I primarily wrote for, and I made that year, I think it was $74,000 after
Wow.
paying for my lead costs that year.
So you netted
Yeah.
$74,000 first year.
My first year, and I think it was about 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many carriers do you think that you had when you started out?
2 of this all I wrote for
2.
primarily
Okay.
at that time. Now I moved on to getting appointed with probably 25 different companies over a period of time after that.
Right.
And it seemed like that the more carriers I put on,
Mm-hmm.
the less money I made.
Right. Now, did you have a lot with these carriers? Was there a lot of policies that you tried to get issued that maybe didn't go through underwriting, or was the underwriting pretty
You
lenient?
just jump from one company to another. You'd go with one company that one company would have maybe a better underwriting for a particular condition, and you would write them. But what would happen that I noticed and learned pretty quick is the first thing you know, if you put on 10 policies with a company, if one of them canceled, which in our business you're going to have 1 out of 10 to cancel, and then you'd have a chargeback with that company, and then first thing you know, you start writing the business with that company just to take care of the chargebacks that you had.
All right. So you having those multiple companies, you weren't finding the best need for the client every time?
Well, you start out doing that. Your thought is, well, I'm going to find the best policy.
Yeah.
But what happens when you have one to cancel, other than you writing a check and sending it to the company, you'll write your next policies to take up your chargeback.
Right.
So that's the reason why you start off with the right intentions, thinking, and you're thinking you're getting the cheapest price.
Right.
That's long before we knew that quality was important.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter quality at that point. I thought all insurance companies were the same.
Right. So you were going out there, and if you had a chargeback with one company, and then say you didn't have a lead balance or you didn't have a chargeback with the other company, and you had the electric bill due that week, so what's an agent going to do if they're coming into the business and they're broke? They're usually going to write it with that company they don't have the chargeback or the lead balance
That's
with.
exactly right.
Right. So you weren't exactly, it's not so much
Yeah.
that it's a bad person or you don't have the right motives or whatever. It's just the person needs the money. And of course, they're going to make that decision to write it with a company that has no leads.
That's exactly
So-
how you wind up.
Yeah. So when you were with these companies, $74,000 in your first year net, and that's pretty good. Now, what type of commission percentage would you say?
That was about 2011, I think.
2011.
Yeah.
So you must be. How much of the
wait a minute,
renewals?
No, hold on. So it was before that. I'm sorry, 2008 or 9.
Oh, okay.
8 or 9.
Yeah. So even you writing a bunch of business with those companies, how much of the renewals are you getting from them right now?
0.
Oh, zero.
Yeah,
Okay.
0.
Wow.
Well, of course, they promised me renewals, but when I left them, the renewals disappeared somehow or another.
Right.
Yeah. When I stopped writing for them, the renewals just disappeared.
Right. So let's jump ahead a little bit. So you got what year did you get with Lincoln Heritage, the Bob Cooper?
It's been a little over 9 years. October 2000. Let's see. 2012, I think, 2011, I think, 2011.
2011, you started with
Yeah,
Lincoln
yeah,
Heritage?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what was some of the differences that you saw right off the rip from those other companies being appointed with an IMO as to being with Lincoln Heritage?
Well, you didn't have you have the same chargebacks, the same insurance, but there's just a lot of differences. I mean, I can't just say one single thing, but the difference was that I immediately started making more money. My first year with Lincoln Heritage, I made, if I even taken out a lead cost and I figured my travel cost, I still made right at $80,000. Realistically, on my 1099s, I made over 140,000 or something like that. So,
well, and see, Gary was in business
Yeah.
for himself before he got into the final expense business. So when you got into the final expense business, which bank did you go to take out a loan to start up your business?
I didn't have to take a loan.
Okay, so you had no cost up front
no
to
cost.
start your own business.
That's right. No cost at all.
And $74,000 the first year, and last year alone you did over $244,000.
No, that was just my own personal sales. I did my 1099 was 315,000.
Wow,
315,000.
$315,000. And how long did you go to school to make that with this business?
Well, you didn't have to. I guess I just barely made it.
Zero startup cost. Yeah.
Didn't have to have any student loans.
Yeah, no student loans. All right, didn't have to pay interest on the business loan to get into it.
Yeah.
And I think, and I talked about this a lot on a previous episode, but when I try to talk to people about getting involved in the insurance business, specifically in the final expense business, you don't have, besides $50 for your license coach to get your license started, a little bit of time and energy into training, and all you need is a life insurance license, and you can go to work and make anywhere from $300 to $1,200 to $1,500 a day. Now, what other business in the world are you going to be able to go and make? Well, how much did you say? 315,000. 315,000 with a pen.
Yeah. It's not big ink pen. All I have to do is just write in the application we have with Lincoln is just one page.
So and it has simple underwriting and so how long does it take?
About 99% of the people that I see on the streets, I can get them coverage.
Right.
So I don't have to jump around to 10 different companies. I don't have to run one company and hope that it doesn't charge back, and then I have to go back and incidentally, to jump back to when I was with that other companies, I had to actually pay payments to those other companies for years in order to get their chargebacks.
Oh, wow.
That paid off. After I left those companies, I had to take money out that I was making with Lincoln Heritage my first year to pay off those chargebacks of those other companies that I wrote for all those years.
Right.
So the simplicity of the thing is just so much more profitable.
It's final expense for dummies. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's talk about that for a second, because you were talking about making payments back on the chargebacks, but
and one company I had over $3,600 in chargebacks with.
Wow.
Another company was close to $5,000. There was one. There was another. No, it was not a final expense company. It was kind of a little supplemental company.
Well, and let's talk about this too. A lot of people, they have the topic of talking about, well, Lincoln Heritage, what they do, they allow us to finance thousands of dollars worth of leads.
Yes.
So I come into this business, when I got into it at 22 years old, and they say, hey Gabe, here's 50 leads. We don't even want a dime. You just go see these people, you help them with their final expenses, and you can make anywhere from $300 to $600 a day. There was no debating that with me. There wasn't no worried about what the lead cost or anything. Yeah. So when you were with some of these other companies, a lot of them, they wanted a credit card up front to pay for the leads, right?
The first company financed them for a little while, and then they required me to pay for them.
Okay.
And then after that first year and a half, I didn't have to pay for them, but that was with it at a 50% contract.
Well, but think about this scenario. Say you get into the final expense business. You got a wife and 2 kids. You're coming in broke from another career, and they're saying, well, we need $25 for direct mail leads, 30 of them. Let's just say you buy $1,000 worth of leads on a credit card, and so And then the next week, depending on what kind of business it is, if it's checking account or credit card, you're going to have to buy another $1,000 on a credit card of leads every single week. Plus, you might have chargebacks too. So
yeah, absolutely.
So in your case, in 9 years of being with Lincoln Heritage, how many leads do you think that you bought consistently every week?
I've probably averaged closer to 30 leads a week.
Okay. 30 leads a week. Now, when your first, say, year with Lincoln
And I have
Heritage,
not wrote a check for a lead.
not one check, not $1.
I've not wrote $1. Wow. I've not paid one single dollar out of a check for leads.
Mm-hmm. And every years for 9 years, have you been able to make a six-figure income? So starting with Lincoln.
Oh, my first year was say just a little over $100,000 if you take my travel expenses out, and every year thereafter it's been over 200.
Wow.
Yeah.
So $200,000 every year.
So I've averaged more than $200,000 a year for 9 years.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the biggest things that I get impressed with, especially with talking with Gary, even him being in this business for 9 or 10 years, we get a lot of people into this business and they get a lot of new and bright ideas and want to reinvent the wheel. But for 9 years. In 9 years, you've been able to have about $8,000 a month in renewals. Just renewals.
Just renewals right now is my renewal income.
Right.
Just renewals.
Wow. In 9 years, $8,000 worth of renewals, just selling final expense. Now, how many companies did you have?
At one time, probably 25 or 26 total over that period of time.
But in the last 9 years?
On the last 9 years, none. Just Lincoln Heritage.
Okay. So in this last year, you writing over $244,000 in production. Now you said earlier you had a month that you was at about $32,000 1 month.
Yeah, I think my highest month this last year was almost $32,000, something like that.
So I mean, now that from this year, from past years, I mean, was there any couple of things that maybe had changed that you had turned your focus to increase your business?
Well, I started focusing more on taking care of the customers better. We tend to get working just leads and don't go back to existing customers. And I found that if you will focus more attention on your customers, your income just goes up. And so I bought exactly 50% less leads this year than I ever did in the past.
Right.
I bought half as many leads and done more sales I think about 60,000 more sales.
Mm-hmm. So you had a whole different change in mindset, it really, because your first couple of years maybe in this business, it was about getting the check and getting out the door.
That's right.
Yeah. So now you're starting. You're going to the customer back and helping the customer, servicing their policies and things. So would you think that that's increased your persistency?
Oh gosh, it's going to increase persistency. My persistency's got better. I think actually last month the Kentucky group, including the other group in Kentucky, the Trent Oakley group, we were in the top 5, I think, in the country, I believe.
Wow, top 5 in the country. And some of these guys out there, they're talking about, we replaced a lot of Lincoln business, and the top persistency in the country. Yeah. So I don't know what people talk about.
We're right at 90%. We're 80. I think it was 88%. And I talked to some of these guys that have 5 companies. They're lucky to get 70-75% persistency.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot too.
And it's we have never I don't believe we have ever in the Kentucky group ever had in the Bob Cooper group or my group, either one. I don't think we've ever had under an 85% ever. Ever.
Right.
Persistency.
Yeah. Right. Because really what we do in this business, it is on the worst day of these people's lives. And when we service these clients, it's the relationships that we sell that's the reason why that we're so successful in this business, is the relationship that you build with the client. So that's something that you have just now started implementing as the service into these people. Now with Lincoln Heritage, you've seen over the years, now what kind of reputation does Lincoln have with paying the claims of these people?
That's something that I believe that is a problem with a lot of agents that are not selling with Lincoln Heritage. I don't think they ever get involved in the funeral process with the customer. Mm-hmm. If you get involved with what happens to a customer when they die, you will see the distinction between the Lincoln Heritage policy and the other companies. And I have been involved with with 3 different companies that in the funeral business, and to see what happens. And the other 2 companies that I wrote for, other than Lincoln, was a long, drawn out, drudgerous case to be able to get the death benefit paid to the families.
Yeah. A lot of companies are in the business of trying not to pay the claim.
Yeah,
but those were probably $5 cheaper.
Yeah, they might be. I had one particular company that every time somebody died, they would send me probably 8 pages for me to fill out, to send in to them, to wanting to know why the person bought the coverage, if they just when they signed the customer, what they signed it, if I coerced them to sign it, just all kinds of crazy questions they ask, trying to figure out some particular. I'm assuming it was some reason not to pay, with that particular company, I never ever remember it ever paying a death benefit in the first 2 years, even though on all their material they said they would. Never, even people with they were supposed to have been immediate coverage policies. It was almost unheard of for them to pay the death benefit in the first 2 years. And that was my personal experience. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't. I'm sure they probably do some, but my personal experience has been that. And whereas with Lincoln, it is almost never do they not pay the death benefit in the first 2 years if they were in good health when the time comes.
Well, and think about this too. How long has Lincoln been in business?
58 years, is that right?
58 years? Yeah, I was going to say 55, maybe 58.
I can't remember, I'd have to look back.
Well, and I think too, what we're seeing in this business now, in this industry, is a lot of companies, they pop up and then 4 or 5 years later, they're completely out of the business. Just last month, another company they're gone.
Yeah.
So people coming into this business,
I think last year there were 3 companies that had been selling final expenses that I know of that we've seen on the market. They're just not there anymore. And one that I remember once distinctively, it's only been here it was only in the business for like 4.5 years.
Wow.
And they come in and they were offering supposedly immediate coverage for people with conditions you knew good and well were pretty bad.
Yeah.
They were saying they were offering, that was their claim.
Right. Well, that's what Lincoln Heritage, they do such a great job, is because when we leave a house, we can actually look that person in the eye and let them know that their family is protected, that they have nothing to worry about. We have a simple phone call that we do that asks them about 9 health questions, and they get them a spot, or they get them approved right on the spot and do a prescription health check, so they're approved immediately.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you what I've been finding out in the field is people that don't have a system set up like Lincoln, that may not have been in the business for that long, clean sheet and apps. Well, what that is putting no to health questions that may have been yes. So that's another good thing. Yeah. So you see that a lot, and what happens when the person dies, the family is the one that's going to have to pay for that, for the agent being selfish. So Lincoln really helps us to take care of our clients every day. Yeah. So let's get a little bit back to that. To how much did you say? $313,000 this year.
15, I think it was.
So I mean, what type of work was it like? Was it like going to a steel mill every day, or?
Well, I dressed about like I am now, and jump in my car and go talk to people.
So it's just like. It's in an environment like this right here. We're talking to just normal day-to-day people.
Yeah, just meet new people every day, and I try to, you try to talk to 4 or 5 new people every day.
Right.
Just basically talking. If you can talk to people, you can do this business.
So even in your first year, $74,000, because a lot of people get on here and they're like, $300,000 in the final expense business. Yeah, he might have done that, but I can't do it. But maybe $70,000 is something that more can be grasped onto. Now, that's netting $74,000 in your first year in this business.
Yeah.
So how many? I mean, even on an average job, $10 to $15 an hour. How many hours would you have to work to net $74,000? That's a lot of 5 a.m. wake up calls, isn't it?
Yeah. For the average person in a factory job, or You probably work 2 full-time jobs maybe to make that.
Oh yeah. So why do you think like agents that get
And then after he gets through at the end of the year, he has nothing to show for what he did last year.
Wow.
If he didn't save any money, he didn't have nothing. But at the end of my first year, I had I think it was about 280 new customers sitting on the books, and now I've got close to 4,000.
4,000.
Maybe a little over 4,000. I don't know the exact number. But
about 4,000 policy holders.
And so that's when. So when you do that, you don't want to put them with a company that you're not sure whether it's going to pay or not.
Right.
You don't want to put them with a company. If I write a policy for someone, and they say, "Well, I'm 60 years old," I said, "How long are you going to live?" Based on what they understand, they said, "Well, probably another 20 years. My mom lived to be in her 80s, and Dad lived to be in his 80s." Mm-hmm. And some guy comes in there that the company's been in business for 4 or 5 years,
right? 6
years maybe. And I said, "Do you know what that company's going to be around?" Now, I understand there's a insurance that they come up with the Department of Insurance that insures them of that. Mm-hmm. However, it's going to be another company that's going to pay them. Somebody else like Lincoln or some other company is going to buy them out. That won't be the company that pays the death benefit if they lived another 20 years, likely. And I've seen it even in the short term time I've been doing this. I've seen it over and over again that the same company the person wrote it with has changed in many cases 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or an agent's going out there writing him one product, and then in 10 years he's going out there and trying to write him another product.
And I've seen we see that a lot too. The same agent will go out there and find another company that he thinks is cheaper. He doesn't care if it's better or not. He just keeps it cheaper, and he'll rewrite the policy again.
Oh, yeah.
So that he can recommission on the person.
Well, let's talk about that. You know, a lot of people that get into the insurance business and they get with a company and they think that they have good products, and they may, but the system that Lincoln has that's set up for an agent to be successful. Yeah. Just imagine if on the day that you got into this business and they said, write down 150 people that you know, your grandma, your dog, your aunt, your cat, whoever, and we need you to contact these people, badger them, get referrals, and that was the way that you were going to build your business. Yeah. So every day, one in the 9 years you've been with Lincoln, have they been short on leads?
Never. I think in my, they call it a leads on account. In my LOA today, I think I've got like 1,400 people to see right now across the state.
1,400 people to see. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So we really need agents for that.
So you got leads in Paducah.
Yeah.
What about Owensboro?
Owensboro. I looked. I've got
Lexington.
Lexington. I've got about 60 leads. Most of these because Lincoln is one of the few companies that is not shy about ordering leads. They're not trying to scrimp and save on leads. They're trying to order them. They actually, probably if nothing else, we get more than we need. Yeah. All the time.
Right. Yeah. Well, what about people that say, Lincoln, they have a little bit more, they're more expensive on the leads. How much have those leads? I mean, how much do you think a lead generates you in income? $37 lead. Yeah. They say, I can't do that.
That's
you just made $313,000.
Median price is about $35 on the leads, but that lead will make me, if I sold every one of them, it would make me about $600. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, I'll sell about 1 out of 3.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the lead, every single lead that I buy will make me about $125 this year.
Right. On average,
every single lead I buy will make me about $125, and it'll make me about another $125 over the next 10 years on my renewals with the same customer.
Right.
So I'm just every day I'm just turning the leads that Lincoln Heritage has allowed me to use into my money every day.
Well, and think about this too.
Interest free.
I don't know if a lot of companies do have this or not, but Lincoln, they do a good job of keeping up with our business. They have a retention department, and also, every 4 or 5 months we get mailers back from our clients asking us to raise their coverage, or they're wanting more coverage.
I get about 150 of those a year.
Yeah, it's called policyholder leads.
They'll mail them, and Lincoln will gives them to us, gives them to the existing the existing agent to be able to run.
So really, in the 9 years that you've been here, Lincoln actually has even 4 different types of lead sources that people can be successful with. They have the web leads,
mail leads, television leads, and they have the policyholders themselves that are constantly mailing.
Right, and those are direct right to the people's house. The direct mail leads. They're not some telemarketer getting on there trying to badger them into setting an appointment and charging you $15. So they're quality leads. It's just like anything else. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, and they have. They're basically the lead itself, not just the Lincoln Heritage. Lincoln Heritage would be considered a Rolls Royce in the industry or BMW in the industry. The leads themselves are BMWs. They're quality. They're not trying to. If they get a letter, once the lead is generated, as soon as that customer sends the link to Lincoln, within 24 hours, Lincoln sends them a letter back in the mail, and they get it with however close farther away from Lincoln. But in a few days, they get a letter back saying that an agent's going to call them.
Well, and I think that's powerful too, because you got to think a lot of people are like, I don't like to go to people's houses. I don't like to just knock on random doors. It's not. They've already inquired to us about the final expense,
and they've even warned them we were coming.
Yeah, and even let them know that we're coming. And thanks to some of our friends, we actually train in our agency that you actually send out a letter with your picture on it, smiling, and you send it to the house. So they say, I'm Gabe, I'm the county underwriter, and I'm coming to see you to help you get your final expense needs taken care of. Something along those lines. Yeah. So it's not just randomly going to people's house.
No, they're not just knocking on any random house. No, they're people that have already asked for. They want this benefit program. They want the program we have, and they've already asked for it. So, well, I'll give you an example. If you walk to a person's door and they got a no soliciting sign, that's not a problem. We didn't solicit. We're not trying to solicit nobody.
Right.
They solicited us.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're just going. I said I'm just here to deliver. No different than the mailman. I'm here to deliver what you asked for.
Right. Right.
So you say, well, I don't want to go to the house with the mailman. He can't sit at home and send it out.
Well, and I think a lot of people, they look at this and they're like, well, this guy's made this money in the final expense business, but you've knocked on a lot of doors and sat in a lot of living rooms with a lot of families, and a lot of people have called you on one of the worst day of their lives.
Yeah, that's right.
So your income could be, you could say, is dictated by the number of people that you help.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
so
exactly
you helped a lot of people last year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and see, that's why we get on here and we try to make these podcasts. We're talking everything insurance and final expense. We don't want to hold nothing back. We want to talk about the hot topic issues in the insurance business, and with people wanting to maybe get into the insurance business and are a little bit hesitant or have questions. So that's what this platform is for us to get on here and talk about everything. So we are hiring in the state of Kentucky. We need agents in the western part, eastern, and central part of the state. We offer exclusive leads and training at the Penn Group. So if you're interested in getting involved in the final expense business, apply at our website, www.thepengroup.us, and get started. You're $50 away from starting one of the most fulfilling careers you could ever imagine. So, Gary, thank you again for having him on today, and you all have a